Go ahead. Tapia, behavior support, upper grades.
Mary Lou, first grade, dual language.
Brady, literacy coach.
Miss Natalie, lower grade behavior support.
Joanne Graves, third grade, English speaking classroom.
Stephanie Godina, math coach.
Lamar spotted out.
Mr. Ellison, sixth grade.
Edwin Javius, EDEquity. We're going to get right into the protocol. I know we have some new faces to it, but before we get started, I know Natalie has some data. Did you bring some data for us? Mm-hmm. And just quickly, any analysis of the data, the behavior data that you've seen thus far from where baseline to where we are now?
This is what we have. We're having some problems with educator handbook on some grades are mixed up. So we didn't do just the infractions on educators because it wouldn't be accurate information. So we took the high flyers and teachers that chose 3 to 5 students that they considered tier 3, whether it's behavior or academic or falling through the cracks. And what we did is we took that by grade level. We found that there are 60 students, which has changed from 65 on the first list that we made. We've dropped 8 students. Teachers removed 8 students from the September list, and 3 were added to the end of October, do we want to call it November 1st list, which brings us to 60 instead of 65. So we've come down 5 students. 22% of those students are females, 78% are male, and let's see how many, there's like 26 of those students, I believe, let me find that, have already, 26 out of 60 students on the high flyer list have received 1 or more infraction. And out of that, like 4 of them are girls. What is that, like 12%, 13% of the ones that have received infractions?
If you had to share, and just from a quick analysis from the handbook, the infractions, is there some that are more than others in terms of the categories of the infractions?
Yes, the 2 students will be looking at like the...
When the referral comes, are they coded like defiance, disturbance?
Yes,
So what
we
is the
level 2s, level 3s. So level 2s are the, I don't want to say mild. We want to say they're...
But are they physical violence? Or
Yes, the actual, oh,
offenses?
you're going to quiz me on this one, are you? So we have level 2s would be chronic misbehavior.
So what I saw
What
maybe
stood
from
out?
the data
Mhm.
that stood out is kids are being referred for chronic misbehavior
Mhm.
or defiance.
So if we had to, if that's a trend at our school for whatever, what is misbehaving in the classroom?
It's hard to define and quantify and measure.
Well, I want to go back to what we discussed last night. How many of these infractions are being written by our parapros and not the classroom teacher?
But the classroom teacher is the one putting it in ed handbook.
Yeah, they
So
don't have
are the one
access. They don't have
deciding.
access to write them up.
No, they do write them up.
Well, they write them up, and then they give them to us to put them in that handbook.
And we decided.
So the teacher can trump that if they choose to,
No.
or at least ask questions for clarification.
Which we
So
need to
all
tighten
these
up.
teachers have gone forward with.
Yes.
Okay.
So the data is valid, that's being entered, but it could be some ambiguity of what the infraction is, and especially from the kid. What is misbehaving in the classroom?
Depends on the teacher.
Depends on the teacher. Interesting.
I would guess that if it's chronic misbehavior, and that this is just me guessing based on how we do it in first, maybe I'm way off, Jenna, you can speak to this, but I get the impression that our chronic misbehavior, when we're marking as chronic misbehavior, it's a child that's a high flyer that we're not solving the problem, and it just keeps on, I'm not engaged, I'm not engaged, I'm not engaged. And
Not following
then the teacher's
directions.
saying, okay, enough, you can't keep on doing this for 7 days in a row, but we're not, I'm going to be reflective on my own, we're not solving it as much as we're trying, we're not getting to the depth of why that's happening. That's my guess. For
Yeah.
those chronic misbehavior
Pretty
kids.
valid.
Yeah, I would think that that would be one example, definitely.
So are you saying, Mary Lou, if a kid's not engaged and just kind of like tuned out of your classroom, that could be perceived as misbehaving?
I'm saying that if you have a kid, like when we've given chronic misbehavior, because we've given a couple in first grade, when the child, like when we've regrouped and taken them out in the hallway or processed at recess, I need you to do blah, 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 and they're like, okay, yeah, we're gonna do it, we have them in a contract, and they're off not doing what they're gonna do, yeah, I would say it's misbehaving, because they've been explicitly taught
The chronic misbehavior.
what they're supposed to be doing in class.
Okay.
It out.
Is there any other data sets other than misbehaving? Because to me, that's still kind of in,
There's gotta be.
for the child, I would imagine that's a little ambiguous.
Nebulous, yeah.
So behaviors, and I think is whatever doesn't fall into that falls into misbehavior, right?
Yeah.
You have a list of other
It's
things.
the umbrella
So it's not-
for anything we don't know what it is.
Oh,
It's just bothering me, so.
So as a PBIS team or multiple, if we can't clarify that, how are we gonna change the data? So part of what we have to do as a team is at some point in time have to say, here are the things that we're seeing. We have to define what is misbehaving as a structure, as a system, so we can tell the kids, don't do this. If you do this, this is gonna happen. Just
But I think more than just telling the child, get your head up, you need to be explicit. Why are you telling the child to get his or her head up? What is that purpose all about?
okay.
Well, and I think that goes back to our work with Miriam, where she's saying, when you write a referral, it has to be an observable behavior. So when you hand me a piece of paper that says this is what the kid's doing, I should know what the chronic misbehavior is. That is still not consistently happening.
This youngster. And part of our protocol is, I took your sheet and kind of morphed it a little bit, and I don't know if you've seen it or not. Remember, we had an
Not with
opportunity.
my glasses.
What we're going to do now is, the sheet that Natalie gave us didn't give us enough information about the personal interests of a kid. So if we can pass this sheet around, this tool, and we've asked Carla to fill this out for Devin, yes. So each teacher is going to identify their high flyer and give us information. Well, if we're gonna make a mark and change it, we have to really go in like a residence team. We just can't go in there and just watch. We gotta know a lot of stuff. So we know now that this kid has a chronic behavior in the classroom. You know, he's got 16 infractions, 12 are chronic misbehaving. So we need to figure that out. Okay, we need to figure that out. So the tool that we're going to use is ask the teacher to kind of just fill in what is the academic strengths. So this is not the time for you to say this kid is horrible. He doesn't listen to. This is not the form. Okay, the handbook is. No, just kidding. Okay, right. This is the form for you to give us some goodies about the youngster. All right, what are their academic strengths, what are their personal strengths, kind of what we did last time. Okay, so now we have it in a tool, so before we go in, the team should be looking at this and say, this is what the teacher wrote. So I'm going to ask Ms. Edwards to share a little bit of what the teacher wrote about Devin.
So she said academically, he has good oral language skills. He understands technology. And he is interested in insects and science.
Mm-hmm.
On the personal, he seeks assistance.
Seeks assistance. What does that mean?
Ask for help.
Like
Yeah,
self-advocacy skills?
And works well with peers. On other, she put wants to help others.
Anybody else know anything about it? So this is the information that we know about them. So as a residence team, before we even go see this baby, what is he bringing to the schoolhouse?
He struggles with math, so he tends to blow out during math a lot.
Okay, that's how about positive? What is it?
Well, if you like science and insects, I'd be integrating insects and science into the math.
Let's not go to the strategy yet.
Okay.
Let's just diagnose the youngster.
Sure.
Before the doctor gives you the pill, he pokes around with you, right? So let's poke a little bit.
Personally, he has a single mom who is a huge advocate for him.
Okay, so there's some family support.
Personal, intra and interpersonal skills, I think. It sounds like you have both. Good with people, good understanding himself.
His peers really look up to him because he can catch frogs for them.
I'm
Got a
just
little
making an
underground
assumption.
economy of frogs going on.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
that
make
was
an
him.
assumption about a student that likes
making a movie on
science.
Let's stay here, let's stay here.
A student that likes science is probably a kinesthetic. I mean, he'd probably.
He's like getting dirty and touching.
Yeah, I'm guessing, but I don't know.
You guys need to know about the frog thing, though, those of you that don't. He probably caught, what, a dozen frogs?
Out on our playground.
Yeah.
And sold them all for 10 cougar cash each or more. And I had, in one day, I put on 6 people with little Tupperwares or cups with frogs in them. Wondering, what's going on?
He's an entrepreneur.
He's an entrepreneur. I mean, that's a skill.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Anything else?
He likes to work one-on-one, so he likes personal attention. He likes one-on-one attention. He thrives. He does a really good job, even in math.
When it's one-on-one?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that one-on-one. Like with the teacher? Or
Well,
just with...
just personally with me, like when he gets sent down, and he might be in a cycle and might be upset about something, but he comes down. One-on-one, he's usually able to calm down. I find when I take him out of the classroom, he'll calm down. When you listen to him, when he gets a chance to talk, so when you affirm, when you validate him, and he might have some thinking errors when he's talking, but if you give him that chance to articulate what's going on, his frustrations, he usually can calm down, and then you're able to talk to him about maybe some strategies, how to solve problems.
Encounters with him last year as a 3rd grader when I would do recess duty and I would have to like give him a timeout. At first he started to cop the really bad attitude and come over with the whole face, and then I was able to build a little rapport like, you know what you were doing and now we're going to have a consequence and this will pass and then you're going to go join the group and you're going to play. But I've had the opportunity to see him over at the field playing soccer. And he's just in another world. I've never seen a more delighted child ever. And his coach sometimes sends him to go into the main building to retrieve the soccer ball, which I think is like
So
a big
qualities.
thing.
Yeah, yeah. We support the teacher and support the child. So what I would like to do is part of the protocol, let's spend about 15-20 minutes. So when we do this on our own, and let's say Natalie is driving the train and facilitating this, we have to spend some time deconstructing what the kid knows, or the positive of what the kid is bringing to the schoolhouse. If we start with the negative, we'll just look at this kid as coal and not as a diamond. Big one?
With the teacher.
What do you mean? Kind of like the finish cycle. Kind of like the finish cycle. Anything else that you think that would support him in the classroom now, Pete? What would support him in the classroom?
Well, like I said, I mean, integrating his interests. You know, if he's actively engaged and, like you said, enthusiastic about the things that he enjoys, why not try to instill some enthusiasm, give him the things that he's good at and likes to do.
He also thrives on relationships. And so if he feels like you know him and you take time for, like Lamar says, the non-contingent feedback with him and connections, you know, hey, I like your shirt today. He will work for you all day long.
We're not doing proximity. We're not trying to affect the classroom at all.
No, we're
smiles, nothing.
No, we're not going over to him at all.
Right.
We're kind of trying to even play like we're not even looking at him.
Fly on the wall.
You got it.
Got it.
And so also with that, try not go in.
So after that, very different, because they got the end of what happened.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
he was totally
We
independent.
got totally different.
yeah,
He sat down and he did his work.
yeah.
So he's totally doing it.
But he did it, like
Oh,
you
we
said,
were-
like that.
Yeah, you can't measure
Went-
mindset, but his mindset just
Yeah.
flipped. And he was, here's what I'm doing right now, and I'm gonna give it all of myself. Yeah.
Well, and I noticed he kept.
Okay, he had it gelled up, so obviously his hair means something to him. The way he looks means something to him.
Well, you could tell. He's dressed very nice. His clothes are clean. His shoes were a sharp-looking pair of shoes. I really checked that kid out.
Yeah?
And you can tell that that means a lot to that little boy.
Him getting up in the morning, he's kind of putting his outfit together. Kind of like, that's a cute little outfit you have on there, dude.
It's true.
Yeah. So we're going to get to the teacher in a second, okay? Group 2, what'd you see?
We was trying to get logged on to the computer, and he wasn't giving up for a while.
Mhm.
It wasn't working, but finally he went and asked for help. He asked Lamar.
He demanded Lamar.
Did he get on?
No, his password's not working.
He got what he wanted. He got what he wanted. He wanted on the computer. He went over to the teacher during guided reading.
This is his wheelhouse, y'all.
Yeah, and
That's
she asked him to go do a spelling assignment, and then he let her know that he wanted on the computer, so she was able to get a child to share the computer. So he went over. The little girl got off her program. He got what he wanted. She got off the program, asked him, what would you like to do? He stated, and then she got them there, and then she said, pick which one you want. And then the next thing, she slid over and he got in the driver's seat.
But she likes him.
That little girl.
Like, you can tell that he has status in that classroom. Like, other kids don't dislike him. Because she was like hanging on the chair, like she was physically close to him. And so,
And then towards the end, he said, would you like to have a turnout?
Yes.
So he
Yes, he
moved
did.
off and she moved on.
Yes, he did.
That working well with
So the
others.
negotiation,
Yeah, he was,
And working well with
working
others.
group.
And it looked
So
like
he's demonstrating everything in the classroom that she indicates that he does.
It looked like the game he chose was science as well. so-
It was.
It was a-
something brain pop. And he worked very well with the little girl. He just let her know, I'm calling the shots, and she was like, okay.
Like you said, he's got status in the classroom. He's got big time status.
It sounded like she wasn't sure what to do because he was telling her, click on this, do this. So that might have been why he took over or something.
Well, anything else? Our new guest? Did you know this one?
No, I was a little far away from he seemed to appropriately engage, so from what you described in the first setting to what we saw, I wouldn't have guessed that. He definitely needed some help. He sought that out, whether that was appropriate or not, depending on how the teacher deals with transitions. But he knew what he wanted and was trying to get it, and then seemed to be appropriate with his peers. At the very end, it took him, I think, 3 prompts for him to go back to his desk once the teacher guided the entire class to come back. Seemed like he was kind of leading the little group of 4 boys that were sitting there. And then it wasn't until he was directly called by name to come sit down that then they disseminated. So he needs a few additional prompts from others, a few additional prompts from teacher to follow directions, it seems. He's a leader.
It's interesting. It's interesting tone, because we do that in PBIS, right? But it's more so tone of the kid. But I would imagine the tone of the teacher when she prompts him. Is it affirming? Is it authoritative? Is it admonishing? I don't know. Because I think because she's calling his name quite a bit.
Yeah.
Right?
so I also think with a kid like Devin, something like sincerity, he's gonna read immediately. So if he does not honestly believe that you have a relationship with him, he'll let you know.
Did we see the first interaction in the first group when she hugged him?
Yeah,
What did you see?
he wasn't really into it. he's like, all right, thanks. She said something positive, and he was like, mm-hmm.
But we were looking at his referral pieces, and, I mean, there's been a lot of stuff going on, so there's been a lot of throwing and ripping and whatever, so there might be some, like, Carlos is like, what do I do? And he might just be like, you know what, you've already got me 16 times in 3 months of school?
Do we practice clean slate?
Are you talking like every day, or like coming in from recess, coming in from lunch? What are you talking?
Any transition with a kid, clean slate?
Well, we have definitely discussed it, and I thought we were practicing it, giving the children the opportunity to regroup and have that clean slate.
I don't think we as a PBIS team have sold that message.
Oh.
No, obviously not. If there's a sincerity problem, there's no, that's not a clean slate at all. We as teachers are here for the kids, and if that relationship isn't a true, like the first time she met him, I'm sure she was happy and like, hey, good to meet you, like honest and sincere. And now after getting beat up a little bit, that
on both sides.
Yeah.
Because the teacher's feeling beat up too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She's feeling worn down. So you can't place fault. I mean, I can understand it as a teacher, but yeah, how do we instill the clean slate? I mean, that's really the first time I've thought about it as a.
So as a school-wide strategy, clean slate has to. We gotta have a conversation because babies deserve teachers. If you wanted your administrator to always catch you, from last year to everybody needs a clean slate. Everyone needs a clean slate.
So I think our clipping up.
Let's talk about supporting the teacher. What is there some affirmations that we want to give Carla based on what we saw that modified the youngster's behavior? Because we're really trying to do things to modify the youngster. Did we see anything that helped modify this youngster's behavior in the teacher?
So one of the recommendations from student services was to kind of chunk his work. So instead of asking him to do everything, if he can do evens or something like that. And so on that spelling sheet, was that what it was?
Yeah, he did have.
Or vocab, he got to cross them off.
Okay.
She obviously has a tracking sheet with him with stickers, and she talked with him about, obviously he didn't earn something, and so I think she talked to him and tried to reassure him that, hey, you didn't get it this time, but maybe you can get it next time. And so you could see he was a little disappointed, but
So I'm curious though, because today was the first day she was doing that, right? Or she was chunking it to recess?
I don't know. That's a question I think it'd be a good question. Yeah.
So my question is, how could you have made it so that he did earn that?
I did see her go over it almost immediately and put something on it.
There's
Was
a
it a
sticker.
half a blue sheet?
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
that's
put a
the
sticker
tracking
on
sheet.
something, okay.
Yeah.
So she did immediately acknowledge him being on task. Whether or not he noticed it or gave it much attention.
I think that kind of snowballed the positive though.
Yeah.
When I left, she came over, gave the sticky, face kind of, lit up, and then that's where I think phase 2 saw some really good stuff in the youngster. He was. You couldn't tell that if we didn't point him out, you would have never known that was the kid that had the behavior.
No, in fact, I was watching, there are 2 little blonde kids in there. I was thinking it was the other blonde kid, so I was watching him. I'm like, I'm really not seeing much. And then she said Devin, I'm like, I'm watching the wrong kid. But that actually, it surprised me because I expected to see more externalizing behaviors, given that was the target kid. So with the absence of what you saw in the first session, unless he would have been pointed out to me, I probably wouldn't have flagged him as a kid that was displaying a lot of inappropriate behavior in that short amount of time.
What are some strategies based on what you said that a teacher can use with him? Because Carla's going to say, how do I help? How do you guys help me with this kid? That's what she's going to ask. So what can we...
Well, when Lamar and I met with her yesterday afternoon, we said, well, he said, how about plan conversations with him? Are you making those happen?
The prevention.
And how often? Because it can't just, and she does, she has a little moment with him in the morning, but Devin needs those moments frequently.
All day long.
So like morning.
So when you're
morning recess.
transitioning, let the class know, I'm gonna go talk to him for 1 minute, and you guys may not interrupt me.
I think that would have been really strategic right then and there. Because when he couldn't get on the computer, you remember he came over, and I think this is a lot of the problems with Devin. He'll come over, and you could see he was in his mode. He was about ready to get into his mode. If she wouldn't have let him maybe go to another computer, if the girl at the computer wouldn't have let him get on the computer or work, positive with him, he would have probably been in his cycle again. So I think she needs to have that plan. This is where the teaching happens. This is where the teaching of, when he catastrophizes something. Hey, Devin, when you can't get on, I want to support you, and reassuring him and talking to him, but talking to him about these thinking skills. They actually, his counselor worked with him on and has given some feedback and support with him. So that I think that's where really the rubber meets the pavement with him. He needs to learn those skills. He needs to know that it isn't the end of the world when something doesn't go his way. And so I think, but he needs that reassurance. He needs support.
He needs that compassion.
Right. And so I think that would have been a strategic time to do that plan discussion, talking to him, reassuring him, even praising him for sure. Like, oh, I like how things didn't work out on the computer. Hey, you found a different computer, you worked out. I'd appreciate that. So
Well,
I think
I
that's
think that
strategic.
we hit on a really important one earlier when he needs opportunities to lead with his strengths. So she needs to be capitalizing on his strong oral language.
Max, what we know about him. That's what
I was thinking about that as that, when he wouldn't come to his class, because that's another one of her strategies, is giving him a time to shine. He don't want to come back to. Obviously had an audience back there with him on the class. I think that would have been a perfect time to reframe what was going on. He's not coming back. Hey, Devin, what's going on back there? What's going on? Show us really quickly. And he would have showed you really quickly and got validated, and then he guaranteed you to come back to, okay, that's cool.
So
Let's
work
go. We're
with,
going to
not
recess.
tell.
Yeah. Well, just this idea of reframing. He's not listening, and we want to work with him on listening to the first prompt. But we know he's going to blow out. If we directly in front of the whole class, he's going to blow out. And so reframing that, validating him for obviously his interest that people are following with him, and then I think that really works. That redirects him and gets him back on task.
Miriam?
I think he just needs more feedback and more in specified increments, like even if she were one of those, time or motivator, so like every 3 minutes or whatever that increment is, because I think that would be a huge preventative tool if we know this kid goes up and down a lot. So.
Because he's gonna get it one way or the other.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's going to.
Yeah.
I actually thought the same thing. At the very end of our session, she said sticker, just to prompt him that he got a sticker, but I was wondering what the sticker was for.
Yeah.
Maybe he knew what the sticker was for, but maybe he didn't. And I thought that if she was giving him a sticker because she liked the way he did something, perhaps be more explicit. The reason you're getting this sticker is this, so then he can
So he
tie
can
the-
replicate that.
So he can, yeah, so he just needs that skill set of, I get stickers when I do this, but if it's sort of arbitrary, it's not that it's not nice, but it would be nice for him to say, oh, I got that because when she said my name, I followed directions the first time, or just being able
Right.
to tie those two things together. I thought that same thing.
The resiliency of the youngster, I think kids are pretty resilient. It's the big kids who aren't. As
It's the
much.
big kids what?
Who
Who
aren't
aren't.
as much.
Creatures of habit.
Oh,
Right? So we're going to have a debrief with Carla. How do we support her with being resilient with this youngster?
Let her know all the things that we noticed, how easy it was, and how quickly he got back on task. And
well, and asking her to be reflective about why that was.
Well, I
Because
think,
she's gonna say, or I'm not saying she, but teachers will say, it's because a stranger came into the classroom.
but I think what Lamar made that comment was she had instructed the children to clean up, that it was time for recess, and he kept going, he kept doing, and then he even got a group of boys. When Lamar made that comment, for Carla to have made the suggestion, hey Devin, what's so exciting? What's everybody looking at? How about you share it with the class? That gives him his spotlight moment, and then she just did away with
Power struggle.
right there.
Yeah.
And that's something that sometimes I even have to say, we as teachers, we just don't see those things. But that statement that Lamar made was very powerful. She could get a lot of mileage with that.
This kid in increments,
He's gonna make you work hard.
yeah, that's what kids do.
Yeah.
But she's gonna be working either way.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
either
Either-
dealing
Exactly.
with the blow-ups or front-loading, preventing. So it's just she has to choose, how would I like to put my energy with this kid? Is it this or is it this?
Whatever reaction.
Yeah,
So
I mean, he's gonna be work, just which work is it gonna be?
Yeah.
We're gonna give her some honey. She did some good things
Yeah.
that redirected him and gave him peacock moments and so on and so forth. And
Then he would have taken it, he would have escalated.
Has teacher defined what success looks like for her in the classroom? Like, is success just him not blowing up, or is success actually engaging and following directions and?
That's a really good question.
that's a great opening question.
Because I think what you just said is we want him to be successful, but perhaps in her mind, him successful is just not doing negative behavior, not engaging in the positive behavior. Because if that's how she defines it, then him sitting in the middle, not engaging with other
That was
kids,
success for her.
that's success for her. But that's not success for what the administration is expecting and really for Devin to improve.
Right.
So that's
That's
what I
huge.
was wondering if
That's
she
a good
sees
question.
that as, what does she define it?
With that. And Devin has been one of your high flyers in your classroom. So today is, the folks here are just gonna be watching me and just kind of watching me coach and kind of talk with you. So the feedback they're gonna give is really to me. So we had a great opportunity to come into your classroom and see your man, see Devin. I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions and we'll get, is that typical normal behavior of Devin?
He doesn't.
What does he do?
Often.
What's the often? What does he do?
He will decide that he does not want to do the task and pull himself away and rip the papers.
Yeah, we saw
And
that.
I try to schmooze him in back, and you did a great job at that, thank you. But it can often, most of the time I'm not able to get him back. So,
Okay. Well, one of the things that you indicated to us, and we just kind of put it up on the board, were some of the things that he does positive around academics, personal, and just some other things that you know that are positive in Devin. Because one of the things that we want to do is absolutely find what works for him. Because we know a lot of things that don't work for him. So we want to find out things that work for him. And it's interesting, a lot of things that you did in the classroom really led to these. When we saw Devin go from isolated to engaged, the things that you did were these type of things. I don't know if you noticed that. We really noticed that.
yeah.
You know, when you came over and you gave him the sticker, you know, that kind of lit him up.
I didn't notice the light. And that's nice to hear, because I didn't focus in on the smile, but that's good to hear.
Yeah, you
It's
lit
fun.
him. You lit him up. He actually found you. You know, one of the things that we notice with Devin is that if he's challenged by anything, he will seek you out and try to ask Miss Martinez, and seek you out. How do you feel when he seeks you out?
So I try to, I know it can be disruptive, but I try to let him know that I am also there for him and I'm wanting to assist him. Because he gets frustrated easily when he reaches this point. And I'm trying to prevent as much as I can from him getting to that point.
You have these structures in the classroom for stickers. Talk to me just a little bit, and I know I'm kind of an
Oh,
outsider.
that's his
Tell me what
personal
those,
thing.
yeah, tell me about the stickers.
Well, he was on a contract with, our PAWS contract with Maggie, and if I would not give him the highest point possible at 2, he would shut down and scream and rip the contract, and then I lost it. So I'm only giving him positives when I'm seeing the positive behavior, and then at the end of the day, I record the 0, 1, 2 and turn it into Maggie for documentation. And I didn't do it today, but usually I'm trying to count the outbursts and the duration of off-task behavior, trying to get into my mind what I need to document to show if there's an improvement.
Okay. So these steps, these positive things that trigger you to give him these stickers, what would they be?
On task.
On task.
Doing what we're doing when we're doing it, that's on task. And I'll give him one. Also, you know, if he's raising his hand and being engaged, but that's again on task behavior.
Participation.
I look for it whenever I can, so that he knows that I'm watching and I'm looking for those positive moments.
What would be considered success? He's knocking it out of the park for you in terms
And
of
stickers?
No, just in just being a kid that's just you want to just take him home and just have him yours.
Oh, he's had moments like that.
Well, what would that be when define success for us? That success to where he's you would actually take him home and adopt him.
Oh, okay. Engaged, excited about learning, respectful, and that would be, you know, not, well, I don't want to be negative, just respectful. Engaged in being excited about learning and trusting that it's okay if he makes a mistake, because that's where the initial problem started with Devin, was in my intervention group when I pulled him over to the table, and he felt a little frustration because he had made a mistake on a spelling word, part of the phonics program. So I'd like to see him be okay with making a mistake.
And I'm just going to ask because you're giving us some really good strategies to support, and even actually coming up with the strategies, and we'll put these together. To what explicit nature that he knows what these 4 things are: engage, excitement, respectful, and okay with making mistakes. To what extent does he really know that's what he's getting stickers for?
On the contract, it says I will stay on task, so engaged, but he comes in the mornings with me, and I give him a little pep talk, and we're going to have a good day today. I'm thinking that I could be more explicit about my pep talks in the morning and identifying what I'm looking for.
I'm just saying
And I
explicit.
need well, now we're going to have a good day today, you know, but I need to be more explicit with him on exactly what that means. That would be good.
You know, and I say that because he seeks you out. He literally seeks you out to help him navigate through the day. And he just doesn't know how to redirect some of his anger and frustration. You know, and when you sit down and talk to him and you're giving him, hey, engagement today will look like this. This is when I give you this sticker. This is a sticker because you were engaged. This is a sticker because you were very respectful. I like the way you work with your group in the back and you came back to the table when I asked you to. That's what respect is. I really appreciate it. Give yourself a sticker. So, because if you're explicit, he can replicate those actions. Because when for this kid, what else do you know about that? outside of work? Because it seems like you say his name quite a bit.
He's definitely on my mind because I want to help him be successful.
I can see that in your heart.
I do. What was the question? Why? What can I'm
What do
sorry.
you know?
What do I know about Devin? I know that he has a little brother. I know he loves his mom. I know he has a close relationship with his mother. He spends weekends with his father. Sometimes if he comes in and he's having a hard Monday morning, maybe he's confided in me that he had a hard time with his dad.
Why are you smiling?
Because I feel good that I know this. I mean, you know, that I have a heart connection. I have a heart connection. The highest flyers, the ones that are the most challenging, they climb in the deepest.
So you have skin in the
About
game.
it.
You ever heard that cliche, skin in the game? That you have something vested
Oh.
in his success. I can see that, I can feel that.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm trying, or I am, providing all the support I can think of. And I'm open to trying anything and everything I can do to help him.
I can feel the resiliency that you're gonna continue to work. Even if this doesn't work, we're gonna try something, because the
yeah.
pot of gold is out there
Yeah,
for him.
he can pull it back. It's just if we can get past him shutting down and the frustration.
Yeah, and one of the things we would like to do is minimize that happening,
Yeah.
because the blow up takes a lot of time. And it takes a little bit away from you.
It does. It can be the slightest thing, and it can be carryover too from whatever's going on at home. You know, I'm not making excuses, but often where did that come from?
It's okay. If we can't get emotional about the babies, because you're owning him now. It feels like you own him.
Oh,
So, and planning for him, you know, because you're gonna either plan for the blow up or you gotta plan for the success. I'd rather see you plan for the success with the kids. So
more coddling, more positive interaction, more not just at the beginning of the day. You know, just give him every chance I get. Instead of just a sticker, maybe a sticker with a hug would be a more. I just keep plugging away at Devin, but the positive and making him know that I'm not going to give up on him, and he can act that way, but I didn't affect the way I feel about him, and I have tried to make sure that he knows that he can come back and start fresh with, like,
clean slate?
Clean slate. We have clean slates all the time. I tell him, I'll start running. I give him a little
sticker with a hug. Could that be a school-wide strategy, y'all? Sticker with a hug.
When he has those days, I'm sending his mother positive emails and texts. And one day I took a picture of him. Look, I'm going to show your mom, because she's in my phone. I can talk to her a lot. And I'm going to show her what you're doing, because it was something good and positive. So on those days, I'm going to beef up that mom interaction too with the positive texts.
Okay.
I've sent out a few, but maybe I could chunk that a little bit, like having a great morning, having a great time in math, you know, this kind of thing because he really has a close relationship with his mother. He's telling me all about her exercising.
So what I'm writing here is just chunking the success.
Yeah, I think this is really cool.
Unfortunately, I haven't said anything. You said all the stuff.
Yeah, if you're gonna do it in the day, maybe let him write her.
Oh, text her? Yeah, he can. I
And
could
say,
do that.
hey mom, I'm doing awesome.
Anything that this really concludes, and what I'll do is I'll get these strategies back to you. Anything else that, you know, the team, because you're part of this family as well, and we really appreciate you asking us, because that's what family do. We help each other out. You know, so the idea that we can come in and support, we really appreciate that. And again, this is not the last time we're coming in, you know, because we want you to be resilient. And if some of these don't work, we're gonna try something else. We're gonna keep trying to because he's yours. He's yours.
He's fine.
How can they be successful?
He wants the desktop, and all the kids are, it's like a big issue on who gets the desktops, because the little notebooks don't work half the time. And finding a good one is very difficult. So it's a rotation within the groups on who can access those. And often, just because he wants to get there, he'll finish his work quickly to get over to the desktops, and he knows that he's competing with the other students. I think that it's helping him, it's motivating him to have to beat those kids over there. And because he had his breakdown today, he kind of lost his momentum when he blew out in the group. But usually that's part of what works, is the momentum of getting there before
But what I
the other
hear you
kids.
saying is, it wasn't the desktop, you're saying the notebook.
Yeah.
So when he doesn't earn the notebook,
Or
what
the
can we do
desktop.
to mitigate so that he has a functioning notebook? So he doesn't have to come up and get into with you.
Yeah, just kind of planning ahead of things that could happen,
Yeah.
and we're just planning ahead for it, if you will. I'm going to say one last thing, and then we're going to close out. Of this blowout that happened, we didn't see the blowout, right?
It was more of a spark, yeah.
Spoke out, blowout, whatever. With any of these strategies that you indicated, if you use them explicitly, could have prevented the blowout. Because there was a power exchange over a spelling word, correct?
He just missed a letter, and then he decided it's his lack of self-confidence. I'm kind of more like, oh, I made a mistake, I'm stupid, I'm not even going to try.
Okay.
I hate school, I hate you, I hate everything, I'm not even going to try.
So if any of these strategies could have helped you with that. Because we want to make sure this is the right vitamins, right? We really vitamins? Right vitamin for him. Because if it's not,
I'm really not,
look at it now.
I'm okay.
Thank you.
That would have been my strategy for him. Look at it now. That's it. Just take another look, honey. It worked for her.
Okay to make mistakes in learning is a strategy that I need to continue to emphasize and make. It's something I do constantly because I make so many mistakes. The kid, Ms. Edwards said, teacher mistake, and I just loved it because it happens quite a bit. And that's what I do in my classroom, is it's okay to make mistakes. But as far as Devin, I don't think he's hearing it. So maybe on my explicit morning or conversation is just talking to Devin and saying, you know, it's okay.
Learning
We all
is
make
about making
mistakes. Just having that part
Being
of
a
the
scientist
conversation.
is about
It's
making
making
mistakes,
mistakes.
yeah.
I think even more
Yeah.
importantly than that, the explicitness is what happens next. What do I specifically do after I make a mistake? Because in his head, he has a natural reaction. Triggers, you don't get to control what happens after a trigger. That's why they're triggers.
Yeah.
So he needs to know that there's a mistake, I need to be aware of it. Now here, I remember, here's the list of things that I need to practice doing after
So in
this
that
trigger.
morning pep talk, not only saying these are the success, but if they don't work, this is what you have.
What are you gonna do after you make a mistake?
What are his
Right now, what we want to do, we have her here on the hot seat for about 20 minutes, y'all. I just want to let you guys know that, right? And she's given us the vitamin. She's owning the vitamin because she designed the vitamin. If we start to give the vitamin, the ownership is now with us. I'm just saying from a coaching perspective. We said we were going to give 3 or 4. We have 4. That's why I'm just putting closure, because more and more is going to be like, okay, which one am I going to do? So I'm not trying to cut down, I'm just saying in a coaching, in a coaching perspective, if the person owns it, let them own it. Then we get back into the classroom and say, how is it working? Okay? And if she only does 2 or 3, we can say, okay, so let's do the next.
There's a substitute in your room, and she needs to go to this class.
Oh.
And we just changed it to 11:40, because she hasn't had lunch yet, because we thought she was gonna be at 10:55. So just tell her she needs to eat her lunch, and then show up in Michelle's room at 11:40, sorry.
I'm so glad. I'm gonna make a poster.
Yeah, we're-
Well, thank you very much, I appreciate it. Thank you, girl.
Thank you.
Hi, did you hear
Thank you
me?
for owning it.
Did
It's
you hear me
yours.
about 11:40?
And we own you.
Michelle wants to make sure.
We own you.
I like this support. I appreciate it, guys.
Okay.
It wasn't even that. I was all worried.
Thoughts about the coaching? Everything we talked about, I kind of added into the soup a little bit, I thought.
First off, when it was me in that seat, I could feel the leading questions and the guiding questions, because I'm smart. But I think it's really good, but I think that for it to be really effective, so that we would all have the talking points where we want to lead and guide. Like for me, I hear you leading and guiding, and I go, oh, I see what he's doing, that's good stuff, right? And then I chime in something that might be a little bit off of where you're wanting to go, and I don't want to be off of where you're wanting to go. I want to be right with you, but maybe for us to have, like, before we go, maybe we just write down a few talking points of here's what we want to achieve with this
But I also
conversation.
think it's important for the facilitator to do the majority of the work, but then we all agree that this one point has to come out. And if he's not getting it out, we're gonna make sure one of us steps in and says it. Who's that person gonna be? Because there's a lot of powerful knowledge in here, and we want to share it, but we just can't share too much.
Yeah. Which in the structure, when we do our debrief after the teacher comes in, before the teacher comes in, we all have to agree, here's some things we want, here's the 3 things we want to go to. So if you're gonna chime in at the end, they have to be related to these 3 things. Because if we start to shoot things out, that's why I kinda had to stop it a little. Yeah.
And maybe we just make the goal of giving one idea.
And I think the word fidelity you brought up a couple of times. So it's one idea, but then it's checking in with the teacher really regularly and making sure that it's happening the way you want it to be happening. Because I think that may be some of the disconnect. It's not that she doesn't have some good ideas, it's just in the structure of your day when you've got a lot on your plate, and is she
Which
really
is why I
doing
wanted
them?
some documentation on that contract. What were your successes today?
Right, I think bringing her back to the ideas that she has are solid, let's actually do them the way that here, when we're problem solving, we actually want them done.
Yeah.
That's where I think the big disconnect.
It just can't be strategy driven. It has to be mindset, it has to be caring, it has to be things that you, like you said, taking care of the child and ignoring that's a strategy, but you gotta own that.
Right.
That's gotta be part of your will.
Yeah.
You know, we gotta be part of the will. So that's why I stayed strong on this initial piece, because this is my first shot at getting her straight. I didn't want to go exactly to concrete track. That's what you guys will do. The team should say, first of all, do we care about the kids? We gotta have some premises. Because if she didn't care about the kid, really, because she says, I own him. I got you. Now we're gonna talk to him like he's yours, right? If the teacher doesn't like kids, there's no strategy. So we are now going to say, you know what? Why don't we do this? Here's some. Now we're getting into a different type of coaching. This is kind of what you will do, and we need to see this in action, and so on and so forth. But she owns them, you know. So now when we go back in the second time, we can get a little bit more explicit with the strategy.
Right.
Because we already got we kind of know she owns this kid. So now we can say, okay, when you did this, let's do it at 15-minute increments. Does that make sense? Because if we would have did strategy here, strategy here, strategy here, I don't think she would have owned it. Like